Black and white photography started as a technical limitation. The earliest cameras could only shoot in black and white. But since then, it's evolved into an artistic choice. In electing to photograph in black and white, it could be argued that one is reducing or returning photography to a purer form. Without color, composition becomes much more important, with lines, shape, and texture becoming prominent again. Contrast can be as subtle as a feather stirred by a light breeze, or as intense as a lightning strike from a summer storm. Modern DSLRs and mirrorless cameras are color by default. That's the way the sensors are designed. In some cases, you can elect to record black and white images in RAW format in camera. In my case, I do all of my conversions after the fact in post. So all of my images start at color, and then I strip out the color and make them black and white. And when I'm going through photos, I don't necessarily always shoot with the idea of black and white in mind. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm looking at something and I'm seeing these intense contrasts between light and dark, and I think that's got to be a black and white image. But sometimes after I've taken a photo, that image just kind of tells me that really I'm a lot better when you take away the color and just look at me in black and white. In this first example, Helsinki Harbor, color image is just kind of so-so. But when it's converted to black and white and the sky is given some extra little tweaks, suddenly you've got this intense sky and the ships in the foregrounds are just there to decorate. This next example, snowy trees. This is what happens when you go for a walk in the snow and what is just a clump of trees becomes something dreamy and poignant. Church in the Rock, which is in Helsinki, this is an actual church built into the rock. But when you take a picture of the roof and its clear parts, suddenly when it's converted to black and white, it becomes a study in abstract shapes. Snowy Pine from Bryce Canyon is first a lesson in checking the weather forecast before driving 4 hours. But in this case, the original photograph had very little color in it. There was just a hint of green in some of the pine needles. But once that's stripped out, the blacks are enhanced a little bit, then now it's a study in perseverance, how life can continue in the harshest conditions. Jupiter Palm, anyone who's been to Florida and spent any time there in the summer knows that pop-up thunderstorms are very common in the afternoon. They just pop up, unleash nature's fury, and go on their way. But in this case, the clouds rolled in, but that's about all that happened. But viewing these palms against that intense sky, that's a pretty dramatic photo. Macro paper, this is from last year when I was experimenting with macro photography, and I was just folding paper into different shapes. And originally I was using two colored lights, a blue and a red, but when I reduced this down to black and white, then to me it becomes a very interesting abstract. Shy Bobcat, this little fellow was not cooperating, and this is one of the better photographs I got of him. In the color version, he looks great. He's an awesome animal. He's just very sleek and graceful. But the black and white, all of a sudden that brings out the coloration in his fur, which is now just black and grays. But it just becomes a much better study of shapes and lines. White Flower, which is from the Botanical Gardens in Cairns, Australia, there's almost no color in this image to begin with. just the leaf in the top center and the flower stem were green. The rest of it was gray and white. And when I converted it to black and white, now you start seeing the textures and the petals. It just becomes a much more intense image. And then this last one, this guy, he's the alpha wolf from Lakota Wolf Preserve. You know, in the black and white version, he just exudes strength and power. But when you flip it back to color, his eyes come out, and his power becomes much more primal. So not every image should be black and white, but those that, you know, you flip it and you think, wow, that's intense. Those are good candidates. And when you're shooting in black and white, you become much more aware of lines and form, and then the contrast between light and dark, because that's what black and white photography is really all about. That contrast, the study of light and dark. So, hope you enjoyed this. I hope it inspires you to try some black and white photography, or take a look at some of your photographs as black and white, and maybe you'll find you like them better. So, if you haven't subscribed, please do that. Click that like button. If you click the bell, you'll get a notification in your email when I post a new video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.